Number 2, a rectangular pond is to be constructed in a park. The pond will be 5 feet by 7 feet and is to be surrounded by a sidewalk of X feet in length. The gardener is interested in the area the pond and sidewalk will encompass. Okay, so first thing I need to do in a problem like this is draw a picture of what's happening. Okay, so I've got a pond that is 5 by 7, and I've got a sidewalk that surrounds the pond that is X feet in width. That's X, that's X, that's X, and that is X. Okay, so what it asks me to find first is write an expression representing the length of the rectangular pond and the sidewalk. Okay, so A, the length of this whole side right here takes into account this distance right here, which we know to be X, this whole distance right here, which we know to be 7, and this distance here, which we know to be X. So the length of the sidewalk and pond is 2X plus 7. Okay? Then it asks, on letter B, write an expression representing the width of the rectangular pond and the sidewalk. Well, that's asking for this distance right here, and we know that is X, and we know that is X, and we know this is 5. So that is 2X plus 5. Okay? Letter C, write a representative function for the area of this region as a function of X. And what kind of function is this? Okay? Well, hopefully you realize that to find the area we need the length times the width. So 2X plus 7 times 2X plus 5. Okay? Oh, sorry about that. So to do this, we have to distribute. So we get 4x squared plus 10x plus 14x. And I know some of you can do this without that middle step, but I'm just writing it just in case. Oops, 35. So when I add this together, I get 4x squared plus 24x plus 35. Okay? So that's letter C. Now, what kind of function is this? Hopefully you do realize that it is a quadratic function because the highest exponent that's there is a squared. It's a 2. So we have an x squared function. We know that's a quadratic. Okay? All right, letter D. Predict the area of this region if the sidewalk is 1 foot, 2 feet, and 3 feet. Well, if this is our function and we need 1 foot, 2 feet, and 3 feet, what we're asked to do is take what we have, take what we know, and just substitute it into the equation, yes? Okay? So we could do this in our calculator if we have one handy. If not, we're just substituting in 1 for x. So 1 squared is 1, times 4 is 4, 1 times 24 is 24, and then 35. So when I add those three numbers together, I get 63. And to actually answer the question, predict the area of the region, then I know that this is going to be 64 square feet. Okay, so 2, substitute in 2 for x, x squared, so 2 squared is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 times 24 is 48, plus 35. Adding those three numbers together, we get 99. Again, we're asked for area, so I know that's going to be feet squared, or square feet. Okay, last 3 feet, if the width of the sidewalk is 3 feet, 3 squared is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. 3 times 24 is 72. Plus 35. Adding those three values, we get 143 square feet. Okay? Letter E. Now, some of you can write this on this paper, just do your work and transfer it over here. You know how I don't write small enough to write it up on this page, so that's why I have my extra paper. Okay? Let's see. Find the value of x that makes the region have an area of 150 square feet. Okay? So that means I need to take my original area equation that I have, 4x squared plus 24x plus 35, and I want to make that equal to 150. Well, I know at this point that I could try to factor this. It looks like it's not going to be the most simplest thing to factor. I do know I have to get it equal to 0 regardless of what I do. 4x squared plus 24x minus 115 equals 0. So probably I would try the quadratic formula. Okay? So I didn't leave myself enough paper at the bottom. So I'll have A is 4, B is 24, and C is negative 115. Okay? So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? Now it's just a matter of calculating what I have here. So negative 4 plus or minus the square root of, I'm definitely not going to do this in my brain, okay, because I really don't know what 24 squared is. So 24 squared minus 4 times negative 115. And I get 2416. Okay? So the square root of 2416 all over 8. Alright? The square root of 2416 is 49.1528. So x equals negative 24 plus or minus 49.1528 all over 8. Okay? So now it's just a matter of making sure I do both of these signs right here. I need to do negative 24 plus 49.28 and divide that number by 8. And that gives me 9.1441. And then I've got to do negative 24 minus 49.1528 and divide that number by 8. Excuse me. Uh-oh. That was what I did the first time. I apologize about that. Well, that gives me one of my answers anyways. Negative 24 plus 49. Let me try that again. Sorry. Negative 24 plus 49.1528 and dividing that number by 8 gives me 3.1441. Okay? And then negative 24 minus 49.1528 gives, dividing that number by 8 gives me this one. Now, one of these two numbers doesn't make sense in the problem situation. Once I get my solutions, go back and think about the problem situation. We have a pond and we're trying to find the width of the sidewalk to have an area of 150 square feet. The only answer here that makes sense is the 3.1441 because we're talking about feet. So we're going to end up with an answer of 3.14 feet because that's going to be the width of the sidewalk. Okay? F on this particular question asked me to sketch a graph in a reasonable domain. Okay? Now remember, we're not being too specific here. It's mostly going to look like this. And the reason we only choose a domain of positive values is because, again, we can't have negative values here if we're talking about a width of a sidewalk. Okay? And last but not least is G. Find the value of x which makes the sidewalk have an area equal to the area of a pond. Okay? Well, we know from our picture, right here, that the area of our pond is 35. Okay? So if I need this whole area, let's see, the pond is 35 and I need my sidewalk to have an area equal to the pond, then the area of the sidewalk also has to be 35. So the area of this whole entire space has to equal 70. The area of the pond plus the area of the sidewalk. So I'm going to have my original equation, 4x squared plus 24x plus 35. That has to equal 70. Okay? So I need to solve it for, get it equal to 0, excuse me. So subtract 70 from both sides. Gives me 4x squared plus 24x minus 35 equals 0. Okay? Again, probably solving by the quadratic formula is the easiest way here. A is 4, B is 24, and C is negative 35. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So again, just doing the arithmetic here. Negative 24 plus or minus the square root of 24 squared minus 4 times, Oh no, pressed the wrong button on my calculator, I apologize. 24 squared minus 4 times 4 times negative 35. That gives me a value of 1136. Okay, so I'm taking the square root of 1136 divided by 8. So x is going to equal negative 24. Oh, let's see, what's the square root of 1136 is going to be, so negative 24 plus or minus 33.7046 divided by 8. So x equals negative 24 plus 33.7046, and that number divided by 8 is going to give me 1.21308. And then I have negative 24 minus 33.7046, and divide that number by 8, and that gives me negative 7.21308. Going back to the situation of the problem, I'm looking for the width of a sidewalk, which makes it the area equal to the area of the pond. Make the sidewalk have an equal area to the area of the pond. And if we're looking for the width of the sidewalk, this is the only value that makes sense. So if we're asked for the actual answer, okay, this is the answer to our equation. If we're asked for a logical and meaningful answer to this problem, 1.21 feet would be the width of the sidewalk. I know we can measure 2.21308, but it's more logical, more probable that we would only measure to either 1 or 2 decimal places. Okay? So please do number 3 and 4 and 5, and come ask questions and tutorials in the morning if you need help.